Hi everyone, my name is Ming, and today I'm going to talk about conflict mediation and nonviolent communication as it relates to special education and teaching. As a future education specialist, conflict mediation is an essential skill. Acknowledging my conflict style is critical to effectively navigating the unique challenges of this profession. Understanding our own conflict tendencies, which can range from avoidance to confrontation, competition, or compromise, and from accommodation to ableism, understanding these methods allows us to better get along with other people in our lives. So the Self-Assessment Conflict Management Survey by Rice University's OpenStax can be used as a baseline to discover your style and reflect on your current strengths and areas for improvement when dealing with conflict. To take this survey yourself, you can see the web address link below the Rice University reference in the description of this video. So the patterns that I see for myself when I took this survey, it says that I strive for compromise more than anything. I got a 15 out of 15 for compromise. I also scored highly for collaboration at a 17 out of 20 and accommodation at a 13 out of 15. I scored moderately for competition. I got a 9 out of 15. Excuse me. And I scored the lowest for conflict avoidance. I got a 6 out of 15. So what does that mean? This data reminds me that in the future, I should be cautious of if I'm being competitive or not, because that was one of my scores. I got a low score for conflict avoidance, so that means I tend to address conflict. But yeah, it just, and I did get a bit of a high score for competition. I got like a 9 out of 15. So it just reminds me that I should be cautious of if I'm being competitive or like trying to win an argument or not. Because resolving conflict is not about winning an argument. It's about coming to a collaborative solution together and compromising on both sides equally as much as possible. And making accommodations so that everyone can have meaningful participation in discussions, especially those that affect our students, and particularly our students with disabilities. It also reminds me how I address problems promptly. These results did not surprise me. I agree with them. I think they're accurate for me. For example, I am aware that I often collaborate and compromise and make accommodations in order to solve problems and to best support student success. So in order to foster collaboration, I take time to meet with other teachers and staff to discuss what is going on with particular students. That way I can make sure I'm using the best methods to support them. So another example is I've been co-teaching with a special education teacher, and she pushes into my general education English class that I'm covering as a substitute right now. So she and I meet regularly to discuss class content, to go over lesson plans, and to improve on the draft lesson plans to make them more accessible to our students. The only exception I see to my typical behavior is when I think students' rights are being violated. That is when compromise, collaboration, and accommodations tend to stop for me or become very difficult for me to make towards other people that I feel may be harming the well-being of the students that I'm teaching. An example of 2 areas where I can improve. So my biggest concern is in addressing conflict in a constructive way. I'm not conflict avoidant, however, I tend to fall into destructive ways of communicating about conflict rather than constructive or nonviolent communication, especially if I'm passionate about the issue or I feel concerned about student safety. So I can work on self-regulation and communication style, like nonviolent communication, by using breathing techniques, taking a break from the conversation, and any other methods to help recenter myself and achieve a communication method that is more successful. Another way that I think I can improve is by giving people the benefit of the doubt and assuming good intentions more often. Life just has less conflict that way. In 2020, Joy Ming created a visual summary of Marshall Rosenberg's 4-part nonviolent communication process for Medium.com. And I have referenced this repeatedly to help me practice nonviolent communication and better understand it, and better understand Rosenberg's theory. So to read more about Rosenberg's theory, I would recommend checking out Joy Ming's graphic and her article for Medium, which you can see in the description of this video in the reference for Joy Ming. Yeah, so her graphic shows Rosenberg's theory, and it demonstrates that when we focus on listening carefully, objectively communicating observations, feelings, unmet needs, and requests, in addition to mitigating our anger, frustration, and expressing our appreciation, we can participate in nonviolent communication. Thank you.